Do do bop bop bitty boop boop boo doo 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 doo. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Curt, owner of Smirk and Dagger Games, here with another edition of Smirky Inside, where I don't know. Today, I think we're going to talk a little bit more broadly about board games, and I'm going to eventually get to a cool story, which I don't know, I enjoy. But first up, let me just pop this over here. I just first want to thank all of you who saw this and then went out and voted for us. We were part of the small business grant contest that is being put up by FedEx, and they had 8,300 different companies approach them, talk about their companies, talk about the difficulties they've had in the past year, and also talk about a lot of their passion as it relates to their business. And there are a lot of really amazing companies out there. Happily, out of that 8,100, we got selected as a top 100 finalist, which I was very delighted by. And I thank you all for all of your votes and help in getting us at least recognized there. So, of course, now what we've done is we've created another whole video which talks really about the passion that I have for what I do, for the games we make, for the company, and how that all kind of comes together and gets expressed. But in any case, so again, thank you. And at this point, it's just kind of up to them to kind of weed through all those videos and choose their top 5. So fingers crossed, but we'll see what happens. I see we got a couple folks out there. Lynn, hey, how you doing? Richard, yeah. Howdy, hey. That's great. So I guess I'm going to just kind of dive in here. And I've called this episode, for lack of a better term, A Rose by Any Other Name. And what I kind of wanted to get into was how important is a game's name to people's desire to want to play it. How important are the illustrations, the physical components, the theme? I mean, if you change them, aren't the mechanics the same? Isn't it really the same game? And it's a really good question. The answer is, well, first off, yeah, of course. It's got the same inventive mechanics. That's what awaits to challenge players. But at the same time, no, it makes it a completely different product. And it may mean that it doesn't sell nearly as well, even if you only change its name. Oh, I see. I see Richard has a immediate question like, oh, are you rebranding? No, we're not rebranding, at least not in the immediate future. But yes, table presence, theme, they're very big factors for people, and they make a really big difference. So I think we can kind of all agree that we are generally influenced by a game's beauty. We're influenced by its name, its theme, and yeah, of course, the mechanics are really important. But how that gets all presented is part and parcel of the product that brought you in and wanted you to sit down and play the game. So, and I think in the best cases, some games end up being more than the sum of those parts. So I'm going to ask you, if you can think of a couple games that you just think are amazing, and it's just like the beautiful convergence of all those things, like the name, the theme, the mechanics, like all of them in concert is what elevates the game to that highest level. And as you're thinking of a couple of those, I've actually got a couple in here as well. So let me just roll over here. Now, you may have seen Canvas recently. There was a Kickstarter that came out And just the execution of the art was gorgeous. The idea that these transparent cards can kind of overlay each other and create a unique piece of art that titles itself as you play. I mean, these are things where the beauty and the artwork and the execution all just blended so well to elevate the experience of the game. I mean, the attention to detail was even great. They put a little hanging hook in the back, so you could actually hang the box as a print on the wall, which I thought was the chef's kiss. um, so I see, yes, Sagrada, CJ, another great one. The stained glass look of that game just shining through, and it makes you feel like you're really in there creating a master work of art. Apart from rolling the dice and matching the things and gaining points, right? I mean, that theme really elevates the expression of that game. Dickie, oh, thank you. Yes, the Night Cage. Honestly, that really struck a chord in me as well. The designers of that game and Chris Chen in general, who did all the illustration as well as like a third of the team's design work. You know, that artwork is so evocative of its theme, and it just draws you in. There's a mystery and a tension just in the artwork that you just want to explore those dark mazes. Richard mentions Shobu and Lucas. Yep, and actually, I'm going to save a discussion of Shobu for just a little bit. But actually, I'd like to throw up some other stuff here. Mysterium, yes, Melissa, a great call. Mysterium is one that just kind of sucks you in, and I always appreciated the theme on that one, which was like being whispered in ear by ghosts, and you're a medium trying to solve these mysteries. It's really cool, and it definitely pulled me in and definitely made me want to play. Suro is one that I selected as well. Here's a game where it's those tiles and just kind of navigating around. It's a very simple game, but the way they executed it, it just was so beautifully done, even down to the rice paper that was the cover sheet they put in that box, and the unique playing tokens that they created that were kind of stone-like. Just a beautiful execution, and it makes you want to touch it, right? So here's another one, Lotus. Just a simple card game, but made so much more beautiful by creating flowers on your table. What a brilliant idea. Let's see, got a couple. Looks like Dickie, they got Canvas this weekend. My wife was more interested in making art than scoring points. I think that's true. And so here's the beautiful part. A really great theme sometimes kind of overshadows, like, the need to win or do the mechanics, like, even Cinder, our game about dating dragons, right? In the end, a lot of people just dig it for the theme and want to almost role play it more than care about necessarily how the dice go. And that's a great way to play, and it elevates your experience. Let's see. Let me go over here. Some more comments. So let's talk about TAC. So James Ernest created this game, and in this case, he also had a little bit of inspiration. That being that the game is talked about and mentioned, though not the mechanics, in The Wise Man Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. But the game itself, even without that, I mean, you could argue, like, some people are drawn to the game because of that connection, because they loved the book and now they have a chance to play something that is really core to that world. But on the other hand, it's beautifully executed. The wood pieces, they're tactile. You want to touch them. The board is beautifully illustrated. So you just, again, you want to touch it. And I think abstracts are an interesting area to even delve into deeper, because an abstract, when you get down to it, doesn't really need a theme. In this case, the book, talked about this challenging game. And the fact that it's beautiful and you want to touch it or even display it on your coffee table, so much the better. But it doesn't really need to have a theme, though sometimes a theme can really, again, elevate even an abstract. So here, Santorini, right? No one's mentioned this yet out there. Although I'll see a couple other things. Herbaceous, yes, CJ, amazing. Kodama, well, you know what? So Jake says, didn't really enjoy the gameplay, but just loved the appearance. I have not actually played that one, so I can't speak to the gameplay, but I agree the look of it is amazing. And here too with Santorini. Now, this is a game that has had a long history, and it's only just recently that it's had this particular look to it. So I mean, in this case, the illustrations of the gods, bring some charm and life to it. And of course, this was originally the game. This is really all you need to play. It's a pure abstract. And yes, you're building, these kind of Greek style buildings, but it's a pure abstract. But how much more invested do you become? How much more do you like want to come over and and touch the pieces when it's now this? It was absolutely a must own for me because of the execution. So here, the artwork of the cover and the styling of all the pieces really made the difference. Cathedral, yes, Jake, amazing. That was one that I have always really appreciated. I was super big into chess when I was growing up, and Cathedral is one of those games you look at and you're like, oh, it's gorgeous. And that's definitely one that you want to just have it live out on your coffee table because it looks great and even makes you look a little smart. Got a cool game on your table. Planet and photosynthesis. Other great ones. Grow. Oh, I didn't see that, Jake. Apparently, it never made it past Kickstarter, but was something that Jake saw that he really appreciated. Um, so yeah, it's really interesting how all of these things can really color our perception of a game, even though the game itself has not changed at all. The mechanics are the same, but how much these things can influence us. Now, um, and now, no, Jake is thank you, Jake. That's very kind. Jake says that love Cutthroat Caverns, which yeah, I don't know. The theme of that game is really connected in the mechanics for sure. I don't know that you can necessarily separate them too easily, but I think. Richard is highlighting Shobu again, and I am going to actually get into this discussion because here's the weird thing. If you know my game line, I absolutely deeply love the meshing of thematics and mechanics. I want to feel something at the table. I want to forget about the pieces, and I want to actually be invested in the theme so that these little tokens stop being little cubes, but they become like the animals I want to save, or the Martians that are invading, whatever they are. I want to feel that those are actual things. I'm in the world. So it's curious to me what happened with our game Shobu. So So Shobu, which is this amazing game by Manolis and Jamie, um, and I encountered this game the first time out in Proto TO, which is a designers conference in Toronto. Uh, Now, the game was actually set out on the table as I was just kind of cruising around, and the designers had actually created. Materials very much like you see in the game as it exists now. There were wood boards. There was the cotton rope dividing them. There were the actual river stones. And I walked by and was just drawn in just by the table presence. It was stunning, and so I was always going to keep that alive because it's what drew me in. And I think, if you can imagine, like, trying to play Shogo, I could have produced it with, plastic chips and a cardboard board, but at that point, like, who would want it? It would be so different. It would feel so different, even though the mechanics were exactly the same. Um, but at the time, it was not called Shobu. I only changed two things in the game, and the name was one of them. Actually, the other thing, which is kind of funny, is I actually had to make the components bigger. Originally, the boards were just a little bit smaller, almost a third smaller. But we had to make them bigger because the stones themselves, we couldn't source stones small enough to fit those little squares. So we had to size everything up to fit the size stones we could actually find and source. So that's one fun story. But the other, of course, is the name itself. Originally, the game was called Shobu Stones, which makes perfect sense because you are trying to shove stones off of the edges of all of those playboards. So that's very much in keeping with that theme. And quite honestly, a lot of people have asked, well, like, where did the rope come from? Why is it there? Well, first of all, it's a really great way to remind players, don't cross over the rope on your first move. You just have to start on your side of the rope. So it's a good way to remember that. But stylistically, it really elevated the game. The aesthetics of it were amazing. All those natural elements kind of coming together. And I've heard more than once, people have come into a local retailer and they're like, hey, do you have that game with the rope? Like, yeah, we've got it. We've got it over here. So couldn't even imagine the game without that. But no, I think the reason, as much as I love thematics in games, this game, in my mind, the experience of playing it was not about being a sumo wrestler. It was a little bit of, it almost detracted from what I think the real experience of the game was. The real experience of the game was that, well, one, it's kind of Zen-like, but two, it feels like the game was discovered, not invented. Like it was dug up. This is an ancient game in feel, both from the look of it and the experience of playing it. When you play it, you feel like you are like playing something that was just centuries old. And to me, the only way to honor that was to give it something that sounded as ancient and powerful as that. And so I went and I was looking for Japanese words because that was their original intent, was to have that kind of a vibe to it. And shobu is an interesting word in that it means bout or match, which is nice. And it's got these two kanjis that kind of come together to form that word. And that's what sold me, because one is victory and one is defeat. And we've got white and black stones. It's kind of yin and yang. It was just like such a perfect expression of what this experience at the table was, that's the one thing really that I changed. And I think, though, that name change elevated perception of the game. If it was on the shelf and it said Sumo Stones, yes, it would be the same game. It probably would have sold, maybe as well, but I don't know if it would have quite equaled it. And I think, yeah, so is, a rose by any other name? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I think sometimes name and theme can make such drastic changes in our perception of a game that they become so important. And let's see, we've got some other comments here. Amy says that yeah, Shobu has the feel of Mancala. It does. It feels, of that same time period that it was probably created. Um, Emily's getting on here saying about the rope. Don't come on my side of the rope first turn, or I'll hit you with the rope. It's there just to enforce the rules. um, Oh, Dickie was talking about the modern versions of Can't Stop over the Board Game Arena version. Modern version is nasty, cheap plastic in his estimation. Not sure he'd bought the plastic version of Shobu. I agree. And I'm not sure if I would either. I really, a similar game. I really loved Grackle when it came out, and I think maybe it might have done better if those pieces were different pieces, because it was just this fun, interesting abstract. And I think maybe it didn't quite the pieces didn't bring enough people in and grab enough eyes. And I think maybe it's more important for an abstract than even for a conventional board game. So something to think about. Something Shoguns would have played Shobu. Yeah, I think so. That's at least how it feels. Yes. So let's see. Any other games that you think just break out because of either the name or the art, or how everything just comes together to create the full product? So I'll look for some of your comments there. But yeah, I'm sorry I took some time between this broadcast and my last one. I think we had Gamma Trade Show on 2 Tuesdays in a row, and then I was doing my taxes. So I am going to try to keep doing these every Tuesday at 4:30. And again, sometimes I take a look at our own products, pretty tightly, and talk about how they evolved and became what they are. Sometimes I'm doing sneak peeks of things that are coming, which I think I'm going to be doing next week. And sometimes I just kind of talk broadly about the industry too. So Richard is talking about Tower of Madness. Yes, well, certainly. That was absolutely designed to have table appeal that would draw people in, and it did that very well. Happily, I think that a lot of people enjoyed the mechanics as well, but certainly the table appeal was a big one for Tower of Madness. Yes, Amy, Canvas. It's something we mentioned up in the beginning. I think it is absolutely amazing. Just the theme, the art, the cards. That's something that all those pieces together really elevated the entire gameplay. And someone else was mentioning earlier, like they just want to make paintings rather than care about the points when you play. Oh, this is a great comment. I like games that essentially allow players to role play a game without role playing. And Dr. Rika is an example of that. There are a lot of great games that do that. Certainly, any chance that I have the opportunity to add a role playing spin to a game I'm playing, it absolutely enhances the feeling of the game and the enjoyment that we all have. It can get it can get really exciting and funny and just memorable. There was a game, a prototype that we were being pitched that the game was actually a pretty straightforward game, and it was about goblins who were trying to get their scientific works published, which was a funny theme. But we started role playing the goblins so hard. We took like a 20-minute game and made it about an hour because we got so swept up in the role-playing aspects of it. Sleeping Gods is another great one. Museum, yes. Papillon, you know what? I have not actually tried that one, so I will have to take a look at that one, CJ. But cool. Oh, well, Hues and Cues. Yeah. I absolutely love Hues and Cues. I begged Scott to give me a shot at publishing that one, but he wisely chose the EOP. It was a good call. um, let's see. Oh, Honey Buzz. Yes. All of those components, they just make you want to pick them up and touch them in it and just like it's a toyetic quality, right? Sometimes we just yeah, I think that's why minis are really important too, because you know, part of our passion in board gaming is, it there's something very I know. Certainly, it's a lot of our games are all like they're for adults, right? It takes a lot of higher functioning to do a lot of modern board gaming, but there's that toyetic quality can kind of like excite the kid in us as well. And so when there are times where you can like touch the things and really get into the pieces, I think that's a big selling point. Lanterns, Eric is a great one. Forbidden Candy. Melissa, I have not heard of that one. I'm going to have to go take a look at that. That sounds kind of like down my down my appreciation thing. Oh, what's this? Dicky. Oh, how often do you get attached to cards, meeples in games? Beheading the martyr or piss boy in Guillotine is always a wrench for me. Oh, yes. So this is what I'm talking about. When you can suddenly forget that it's a card, that it is a token, and you start believing it's the thing the world is talking about. Yes, it can be heart-wrenching by, having one of those pieces be lost to some horrible fate like in Guillotine, which is a game I have always enjoyed, as twisted as it is. Um, oh, 1313 Dead End Drive. Yeah, that was really tactile. There was that the one that had like the staircase that would like drop down? It was actually like it looked like a castle or a haunted mansion. Um, that was a really cool one. Oh, and yeah, Amy's Dinosaur Island and even Tiny Epic Dinosaurs with those little tiny bitty dinosaurs. I wanted it just because I could get these tiny epic dinosaurs, and I was like, I have to have it for my birthday. And honestly, it's great. It's one a great game, but I'm a dinosaur nut, so I was sold on all those little different dinosaurs in there. Hero Quest, Justin, yes, that was a big one for me as well. Also, Dungeon Quest for the same reason, flipping those tiles over and just there was like 20 different card types that you could draw, different decks, discovering those rooms. And yeah, it was so hard to win. And we had like a list of people who had died in the, because most often you died usually. And we had like, we like rip, and we'd put like a tombstone for our character that we would name. Yeah, it's all really, really great stuff. I love games that have metal coins, Amy said. Oh, yes. I don't know of too many that actually do. Like, I think a lot of them have become like enhancements through like Kickstarter and things. But yeah, anytime you get something tactile like that, it's cool. Even for Dread Curse, we ended up, they were cardboard tokens in the base game, but we did these really cool. They're actually wooden doubloons, which were kind of fun, but they still had that kind of clank in the bag. So I totally get, wanting the metal ones too. Volcano Island. Well, of course. Yeah. I mean, that one just looks like a big toy. It is, right? It's the marbles dropping down and knocking your adventurers over. It's great. And they did some really nice updating of that whole game too, which I appreciated. Mystery Mansion. Oh, actually, you know what? I think that's the one I was thinking about, Melissa. That was really cool. Does anyone remember? Oh, you're right. I was talking about Fireball Island. Okay, cool. But does anyone remember? This was, I mean, you have to have hair this color to remember this game. But it was the Titanic game, and as the game went, the board would start sinking the Titanic below a second cut of the board. So it would start on the ocean, and then it would slowly start to sink, and some of the staterooms would go under the water, and some would come up into the air, and you were just trying to get off with enough supplies and as many passengers as you could rescue in your lifeboats. And then when the boat was gone, you had to actually get out to an island and await rescue, and hopefully your supplies lasted. I think it was a Parker Brothers game, but it really made an impression on me as a kid, for sure. Wingspan's Bird Feeder. Not a necessary part of the game, but one of the most fun points. Very true, Brian. You are correct. Yeah, and I think all of these things are what really get us excited and invested in a game more than the mechanics sometimes. But I think it's becomes more than the sum of the parts is really what it is. And that's what the total package ends up becoming, the specialness of the game, and what will make one game really rise to the top and another, be passed over more quickly. Though, honestly, there's so many games coming out, it's hard for anything to stay afloat for too long. The Geek Up resin tokens for Quacks really changes the game feel. Oh, so I love Quacks. I don't know if I've seen those tokens. Are those something that can be gotten? I may have to look into that. I'm a sucker for push your luck games. I don't know why. I absolutely love them. And Quacks, again, another great example. I want to touch like all those little ingredients, even that little pumpkin thing. They are so beautifully illustrated for the ingredients that you want to touch them, and just I think it's gorgeously done. And even how the mice work up on the track as your catch-up mechanic. And man, oh no, actually, what was that? Yeah. I am going to end up broke after our discussion, because there are so many games, and a lot of games that I don't have yet, that I'm getting really excited, and I'm going to have to go and buy a bunch of stuff, no question. So let's see. Oh, Torpedo Run. Yes, sir. Rick, I absolutely loved Torpedo Run as a kid. For those of you who have not seen it, it's an old classic game where you took, your I guess there are bombers, jet plane bombers that would come off of your carriers with a little plastic disc in the bottom. And as you got close to a ship, you tip it over as they fly towards it, and then it drops that torpedo and starts, coming right for the ship. So much fun. Love that. Oh, custom tokens for Magic the Gathering, Gloomhaven. Yeah, well, obviously, there are so many places now to get custom stuff. There are businesses that do custom meeples and custom, game packages. Why do they sell? Because we love the stuff. The stuff is half of the fun, and especially when it really lends itself to the experience of the game, especially when we invest ourselves in those pieces, it becomes even more so. Agree. Everdell, another one. Yes, love the look of Everdell. That's another one I actually need. Thank you, Amy. That's going to go on the list. Okay. So, anyway, I think I've pretty much shared most of what I wanted to from this. And thank you so much, everyone, for jumping in and talking about a bunch of these really great games that maybe are not just Roses by Any Other Name, but, the name and the theme and how it all comes together really does matter. And thanks for joining in that conversation. All right, well, till next time, have a great week, a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Haha.